everyone, my name is Mumija Sakpal, and in today's video we will be looking at a scientific theory that explains where memories are stored in the brain. Memory is one skill to encode, store, retain, and subsequently recall information and past experiences in the human brain. Memory in psychological terms is a set of encoded neural connections in the brain. It is a reconstruction of past experiences by the synchronous electrifications of neurons that were involved in the original experience. The way in which memory is encoded is better perceived as a kind of jigsaw puzzle, rather than a conventional way of collection of recordings or pictures stored as discrete wholes. Our memories are not stored in our brains in an organizing manner, but are actually on-the-fly reconstructions from elements scattered throughout the various areas of our brain. Researchers distinguish between different types of memories. This is important because it appears that different types of memories may be stored in different parts of the brain. I'll briefly explain the types of memories. Declarative memory is based on the facts and events and refers to those memories that can be consciously recalled. There are two subsets of declarative memory: episodic memory, which contains the memory of specific events that have occurred at a given time and a given place; semantic memory, which contains general knowledge of facts and people. Procedural memory is the unconscious memory of skills and how to do things. Short-term memory is also called as working memory. If sensory information is recognized or considered important, it is coded and sent to short-term memory. Long-term memory is if the information is rehearsed or attended to in some way, it is recorded and transferred into long-term memory. Coming to the question of, are memories stored in just one part of the brain, or are they stored in many different parts of the brain? Karl Lashley began exploring this question by making lesions in the brains of animals. He was searching for the evidence of engram, which are a group of neurons that serve as physical representation of memory. In a study in 1950, Lashley trained rats to find their way through a maze. He used the surgical instruments available to create lesions in the rat's brain, specifically in the cerebral cortex. He did this because he was trying to erase the engram, or the original memory trace that the rats had of the maze. Lashley, however, did not find evidence of the engram, and the rats were still able to find their way through the maze, regardless of the size or location of the lesion. Based on his creation of lesions and animals' reaction, he formulated the equipotentiality hypothesis. Memories are not stored in one specific part of the brain, but are spread throughout it. So, if one of the area of brain involved in memory is damaged, another part of the same area can take over the memory function. Although Lashley's early work did not confirm the existence of the engram, modern psychologists are making progress locating it. The main parts of brain involved with memory are the amygdala, the hippocampus, the cerebellum, the prefrontal cortex, as shown in the figure. One of the classic case studies ever was the H.M. case study by Brenda Milner in 1966. H.M. was born in Manchester, Connecticut, and was hit by a cyclist while crossing the street when he was 7. And he sustained serious head injury resulting into epileptic seizures by the age of 10. By 27, he became so incapacitated by the seizures that he was unable to live a normal life. William Scoville, a neurosurgeon, performed an experimental surgery on H.M., removing tissues from the medial temporal lobe, including the hippocampus on both sides of the brain. After the operation, H.M. remembered his childhood very well. His personality appeared largely unchanged. There was no general intellectual impairment, but he could recall little of the 12 years before the operation. When some time had passed after the operation, H.M.'s retrograde amnesia, like the memory for events before the operation, diminished, and by 1966 he only had problems remembering the period of about 1 year before the operation. H.M. primarily suffered anterograde amnesia. For example, he was unable to remember faces of people he met after the operation. To carry out her research, Miller used many different strategies, which concluded that H.M. could not acquire new episodic knowledge, and he could not acquire new semantic knowledge. This suggested that the brain structures that were removed from his brain are important for the transfer of information from short-term to long-term memory. H.M. had a capacity for working memory. Since he was able to carry on a normal conversation, this requires a minimal level of retention of what has just been said. Memories in the form of motor skills, i.e. procedural skills, were very well maintained. Although he had shown improvement on the skills over time, he never remembered learning the skill. In 1992 and then 2003, Suzanne Corkin carried out an MRI scan of H.M.'s brain to see the extent of the damage. It was possible to see that parts of H.M.'s temporal lobe, including the hippocampus, had the most damage. However, the damage was less extensive than originally estimated by Scoville. Damage to the hippocampus explains the problem of transferring short-term memory to long-term memory, as this is the area where the neurotransmitter acetylcholine is believed to play an important role in learning and formation of memories. Smith and Squire assessed the brain's activity in relation to recalling of the old and new memories. They recruited 50 male participants and used fMRI to scan their brains while they answered 160 questions of news events that took place in the past 30 years. Smith and Squire designed their experiment so that they could assess the effects of the age of a memory independently of both encoding of the test questions and richness of the recollection of the memory. In general, the participants' ability to recall any given news event decreased in relation to the amount of time that had passed since the news event had occurred. They were better able to recollect more recent news than older ones. In their analysis, only the fMRI data from the questions that had been answered correctly were used. Specifically, this dataset exhibited that medial temporal lobe structures, which are the hippocampus and amygdala, showed gradual decrease in their activity as the participants recalled progressively older memories. The opposite pattern was observed in the areas of the frontal, parietal, and lateral temporal lobes. Activities in these areas increased with the age of the new events being recalled, but remained constant during the recollection of the more recent events. The concept of memory refers to the process by which information is encoded, stored, and retrieved. Cognitive psychologists have suggested ways to conceptualize the architecture and processes of memory systems by making models of memory. The multi-store model was suggested in the 1960s by Atkinson and Schifrin and was inspired by computer science. The model is based on a number of assumptions. First, the model argues that memory consists of a number of separate locations in which information is stored. Second, those memory processed are sequential. Third, that each memory stored operates in a single uniform way. In this model, short-term memory serves as a gateway by which information can gain access to long-term memory. The various memory stores are seen as components that operate in conjunction with the permanent memory store through processes such as attention, coding, and rehearsal. You need to pay attention to something in order to remember information. According to this model, rehearsal is vital to keep material active in short-term memory by repeating it until it can be stored in long-term memory. Evaluation of evidence. Atrium is a classical study which also proposed that different areas of the brain store different types of memories. However, the study only focused on hippocampus, that it was the basis of the whole study. Smith and Squire proposed more additions to the theory, recalling old memories versus recalling recent memories, and also provides anatomical and functional evidence supporting the findings acquired from Atrium case study. However, in some aspects, it is only focused towards patients who have lesions in both sides of the brain. Working memory model. This supports how memory is stored, but it does not specify which region memories are stored, as different types of memories are stored in different regions. The model now is viewed as a very simplistic model, as it shows the basic mechanism of how memory works. This evidence are very classical examples of memory storage in the brain. However, there have been many recent studies and discoveries which also contribute to Karl Lashley's theory. In conclusion, there are types of memories one possesses through their experiences in their life, and each memory is stored in different regions of the brain. The sources providing evidences are pretty strong on its own, and also supports the theory presented by Karl Lashley. Many scientists believe that the entire brain is involved with memory. However, since Lashley's research, other scientists have been able to look more closely at the brain and memory. They have argued that memory is located in specific parts of the brain, and specific neurons can be recognized in their involvement in forming memories. Hence, I believe that theory presented by Karl Lashley is very strong, as it starts the basis for forming new theories in relation to the brain and formation and storing memories. These are the references for my research, and thank you.